isn't it? Andy Crouppen is here. He joins us with more tips for a hassle-free project. You and the guys over at the law firm just went through some of this.
We did. And, you know, these projects can go one of two ways. Luckily, ours went the right way.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking process. I remember when I was younger, my parents redid their house, and it took forever, and it was a horrible experience, and they were fighting, and everything was going wrong. It just... I think the most important thing is an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Really, do your homework up front. You find people who will spend 10 hours online deciding which stove to get, but then the first person who says, "Hey, let me install it for you," leave them at home with
not a good idea
with your pets and.
I don't know how many times you've sat in that chair and told us these two things: be careful when you put your name on the dotted line, and get everything in writing. And with home improvements and contractors, I've got to imagine that's at the top of the list again.
It is. You want to make sure, because when you're on a smaller project, obviously it's easier to define what the scope of it is. But the larger the project, you're going to talk about a million things, and no one's going to remember months down the line what exactly you agreed on and which stove you picked, which handles. Put it all in writing so that you can always refer back to it and make sure that you know, if you said I wanted those black handles and the contractor says, no, you said silver, here it is.
Yeah, I beg to differ, sir. It's right here in writing. What about warranties, guarantees? Is that something that these folks should have in writing, rather than just, you know, the guy says, hey, you know, for 3 years, anything happens, we'll take care of it?
Well, some of that you're protected by statute.
Okay.
Sometimes you can specifically waive those rights. So you want to make sure you read through everything you sign, because you may think that the law gives you a 3-year warranty on this, and in the fine print, the contractor signs you back to 2 or 1. So make sure you look at it. If you feel like it's out of your hands, if you can't understand what it's saying, consult a lawyer, consult a friend who may be able to help you. Know what you're signing.
We're living in a tricky era now when it comes to references, because a lot of the bigger companies especially will put references maybe on their website, push you there. But who knows who really wrote that reference if it's just text on a website, right?
No, you're absolutely right. It's tough. You know, places like Angie's List, you know, the best way to do it is friends and family, or you know, one step removed, friends of friends. Try to find somebody you know, or somebody who you know, whatever.
Who knows someone,
someone who, you know what I mean. Find someone who you can specifically speak to, who's experienced this person, their work. Go check it out, see what kind of work they did. Don't just fly blind here, because like any other profession, there are people who are great at what they do, and there are people who are either bad or border on fraudulent. So know what you're getting yourself into. Do your homework.
We did a little patio work in the backyard. They had done other work in our neighborhood, so we just walked over to take a look at some of their other work. Let's talk about paying for this. Should you ever pay for all of this up front? Is that ever a good idea?
That's always a bad sign when somebody says, oh, and just give it all up front, and don't worry, we'll take care of it. You know, a lot of the times people will want some of the money up front to pay for the materials, which is fine. That's logical. Sure. But don't give them everything. At least hold back half, or make some arrangement so there's some incentive for them to finish the job. Right. And if you have a problem, you know, you have some leverage. Sure. Makes sense to me. If you have a legal question for Brown and Crouppen, you can email us at greatday@cable.